Cargo giants and fuel-loaded tankers are the lifeblood of global trade, unstoppable machines cutting through the world's oceans. But when these floating behemoths collide, the results are catastrophic. From fire-spewing explosions in the Indian Ocean to tankers that blackened entire coastlines with oil, these aren't just accidents, they're disasters etched into maritime history. What went wrong? Who paid the price? And which collisions still haunt the seafloor today? Join us as we uncover the 10 worst cargo and tanker ship collisions of all time, each with a story soaked in chaos. 10. MSC Flaminia Explosion. A sudden boom echoes across the Atlantic. Thick black smoke billows from the center of the ship, and no one knows why yet. This isn't a storm, it's something far worse. The MSC Flaminia, a German-flagged container vessel, is deep in the mid-Atlantic in July 2012, when a violent explosion tears through one of its cargo holds. The fire spreads fast, fed by mysterious chemicals hidden among hundreds of containers. 2 crew members die instantly. Another succumbs to injuries later. What makes this so terrifying is how long the ship burns. Rescue ships hesitate to approach. No one wants to get too close, because what's inside those containers could blow again. After multiple nations refuse to let the vessel dock, the Flaminia drifts for weeks. The European Union even holds meetings to decide what to do. The cause? A chemical reaction between divinyl benzene and heat. But here's the kicker: that cargo was mislabeled. One tiny mistake in the paperwork caused a disaster that nearly sank the ship, killed 3 people, and disrupted global shipping routes. If you think that's intense, wait till you see what happens when a luxury liner decides to sail too close to shore. And that's exactly where we're going next. 9. Costa Concordia. A cruise ship turns sideways in the sea. People are screaming. Lifeboats are jammed. And the captain? He's already gone. The Costa Concordia is one of the most luxurious ships ever built, until January 13, 2012. That night, it strikes an underwater rock off Italy's Giglio coast, gashing the hull open like a zipper. Water rushes in, lights flicker, alarms blare. The ship lists heavily to one side, trapping passengers and crew in a surreal, tilting nightmare. The captain, Francesco Schettino, was allegedly showboating, steering the vessel close to shore for a personal stunt, but it backfires. 32 people die. Hundreds more suffer injuries, panic, and trauma. The most infamous moment? The Coast Guard yelling at the captain over the radio, "Get back on board, damn it!" Schettino never does. He's later convicted and sentenced to 16 years in prison. The Concordia lies capsized for over 2 years before a $1.2 billion salvage operation lifts her from the sea. But the footage lives on. The screams, the chaos, the surreal image of a half-sunken cruise liner tilted like a toy in a bathtub. And the worst part? The whole world watched it unfold in real time. The Costa Concordia is the most expensive shipwreck recovery in history, costing more than the ship's original price tag. 8. Baltic Ace Collision. Fog hangs over the North Sea like a curtain. 2 ships appear on the radar, but only one survives the next 15 minutes. That's all it took. The Baltic Ace, a massive car carrier, is hit by the container ship Corvus on December 5, 2012. The 2 vessels collide in one of the busiest shipping lanes in the world. The impact is devastating. Steel crunches. Water floods in instantly. The Baltic Ace begins to list violently to one side. Within minutes, it's underwater. 11 of the 24 crew members vanish into the freezing sea. And what was the Baltic Ace carrying? Over 1,400 brand new Mitsubishi cars, all headed for the Middle East. Investigators later revealed the ships were navigating a narrow corridor with limited visibility. There was almost no time to react. And here's what's chilling. The ship was upright one moment and tilted at 45 degrees the next, said one of the rescued crew. There wasn't even enough time for a proper distress call. Just silence. Then, a black dot on the ocean. Gone. If you thought that was horrifying, Wait until you hear what happened when a passenger ferry collided with a fuel tanker loaded with gasoline. Because the death toll? Over 4,300 people. 7. MT Vector and Doña Paz. Imagine a sea so calm, it masks the worst tragedy ever recorded on water. On December 20th, 1987, the Doña Paz, a passenger ferry bound for Manila, is filled with over 4,000 people, mostly families heading home for the holidays. But just before midnight, it collides with the MT Vector, an oil tanker hauling thousands of gallons of gasoline. The result? A fireball explodes across the water. Survivors say it looked like the sea itself was on fire. People jump overboard, but the gasoline burns on the surface. There's no escape. The Doña Paz sinks within 2 hours. The MT Vector disappears soon after, and the rescue response? Delayed. No distress signal was sent. The final death toll? Over 4,386 lives lost. It becomes the deadliest peacetime maritime disaster in history, more than the Titanic, Lusitania, and Costa Concordia combined. And yet most people outside the Philippines have never heard of it. We saw people running, burning. The water was red, one survivor recalled. Only 24 people survive. 24. The Doña Paz was so overcrowded it didn't even have a full manifest. Many victims were never officially recorded. 6. Exxon Valdez. A quiet night in Alaska turns into an ecological nightmare. One wrong turn and 11 million gallons of crude oil gush into pristine waters. The Exxon Valdez was built for reliability. But on March 24, 1989, it veers off course in Prince William Sound and slams into Blythe Reef. The result? Oil spreads across 1,300 miles of untouched coastline. Thousands of sea otters, seals, eagles, and salmon are wiped out. Some beaches are so thick with sludge, you could walk across them without touching sand. The cleanup takes years. The cost? Over $7 billion. And what triggered the disaster? Captain Joseph Hazelwood was allegedly drunk, leaving an unlicensed officer in command. Public outrage explodes. Environmental protests go global. And the footage? Seagulls drenched in oil, carcasses stacked along the shore. The ecosystem may never fully recover, said a marine biologist at the time. This single incident leads to major reforms in tanker design and U.S. oil transport laws. But it also sparks one question. What if this wasn't an accident? Because some still believe the full story was never told. 5. Rena grounding. In the early morning of October 5, 2011, the MV Rena slices through calm waters near New Zealand until it strikes a hidden reef. But this is much more than a dent. It's a slow-motion disaster. The astrolabe reef punches straight through the hole. The ship starts leaking oil and containers spill like toys into the sea. Over the next few days, the vessel splits in half. One section begins to sink. Some containers carry hazardous materials. Others wash ashore, drawing curious locals in a massive cleanup operation. New Zealand's beautiful Bay of Plenty becomes a zone of devastation. Birds coated in oil, beaches sealed off. It becomes the worst maritime environmental disaster in the country's history. And the captain? He was off course by several nautical miles. Crew members are charged. The company pays millions in damages. But the coral reef, the one thing that stopped the ship, is still trying to heal. It's like someone dropped a skyscraper on a fragile glass garden, said one diver involved in the recovery. The Rena was stuck on the reef so firmly that it became an unofficial dive site before it finally sank. Locals even nicknamed it the Iron Tourist. 4. MSC Napoli. Waves pound the hull, steel groans, then crack. The ship doesn't just tilt, it breaks. The MSC Napoli is battling fierce weather in the English Channel in January 2007 when the hull suffers catastrophic structural failure. Water rushes in. The engine room floods. Knowing the ship will go down, the crew sends out a distress signal and is airlifted off. But the ship doesn't sink. Not yet. Instead, British authorities make a wild call: beach it. They run the ship aground on the coast of Devon to prevent a total loss. And then, chaos. Containers filled with goods, including BMW motorcycles, wine, and cosmetics, wash up on shore. Locals swarm the beach like it's Black Friday. People drive up in vans and haul away whatever they can grab. It was a free-for-all, said one Coast Guard official. Even entire brand new cars were towed off the sand. But behind the frenzy, there's a hidden danger. Toxic materials from ruptured containers leak into the surrounding waters. This is more than a crash. It's a full-blown environmental and social crisis. And now comes the one that nearly blew a ship apart from the inside out. 3. Honda Fortune. 1 second, calm seas. The next, a violent explosion rips through the stern. On March 21, 2006, the Honda Fortune is transiting the Gulf of Aden when a fire breaks out below deck. Within minutes, a deafening blast ejects containers straight into the ocean. Thick smoke cloaks the horizon. The deck burns for days. Photos of the wreck show containers suspended mid-air by twisted steel. Some were blown 30 meters away. The cause? A container loaded with chemicals exploded, likely misdeclared cargo once again. No lives were lost, but the scale of damage was monstrous. Over 60 containers were destroyed. The engine room melted. The total damage estimate? Over $800 million. It looked like the ship had been shelled in a war zone, said one salvage diver. And get this, the ship didn't sink. After being towed and repaired, the Honda Fortune eventually returned to service. But that terrifying moment remains frozen in time, captured in photos shared by shocked mariners around the world. The explosion on Honda Fortune was so powerful, nearby ships picked up the shockwave on radar and sonar sensors, thinking it was a torpedo. 2. Hanjin, Pennsylvania. The fire was dying down. The crew was breathing again. Then suddenly, boom! A second explosion splits the sky and everything changes. In November 2002, the Hanjin, Pennsylvania, a South Korean container ship, is sailing through the Indian Ocean when a fire ignites deep inside the cargo hold. The crew begins a standard fire suppression operation. It seems under control. But what they don't know is that several containers on board are packed with fireworks, misdeclared as general cargo. 4 days later, as investigators and crew attempt recovery, the second explosion hits. It's catastrophic. The blast blows containers into the air. Crew members are injured. One dies from burns. The vessel, still afloat, is left scorched, twisted, and hemorrhaging black smoke. Here's where it gets worse. Because of the misdeclared cargo, the crew had no way of knowing what was really burning below. And because of that, emergency protocols failed. The shipping industry quickly scrambled to tighten rules after the fact. "We had no chance," said one injured crewman. "We didn't know what we were standing on." The Hanjin, Pennsylvania didn't sink, but it almost didn't survive the paperwork. 1. MV Doña Marilyn. The ship vanished without warning. No collision, no explosion, just silence. In 1988, the MV Doña Marilyn, a sister ship to the Doña Paz, was caught in Typhoon Ruby while sailing to Light, Philippines. Unlike the fiery chaos of the Doña Paz, the Doña Marilyn disappeared under massive waves. She capsized near Malapascua Island after being battered for hours by 150-kilometer-mile-an-hour winds and 8-meter-high swells. "We waited for rescue, but the sea had other plans," said one of the survivors. Out of 511 passengers and crew, only about 200 survived. Bodies washed ashore for days. There were reports the ship was overloaded, and some say it should never have set sail that day. Like its sister, the Doña Marilyn became a haunting symbol of neglected maritime safety in the Philippines. And unlike the Concordia, there are no flashy photos, only stories from those who lived and those who didn't. If these collisions left you stunned, imagine what else the ocean is hiding. Hit that like button, subscribe for more maritime mysteries, and drop a comment telling us which disaster shocked you most. Stay Stay curious, stay safe, and remember, one mistake at sea can echo through history forever.